Hi, everyone, and welcome to our weekly AI interview. Today we have Rudradeb with us. Um, I will want to start to ask, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for inviting me.
Yes. So you have quite an interesting and also very long background in artificial intelligence. So I would really like to understand a bit, like, tell us a bit how did your journey start in AI? Like what got you interested to start with?
Well, I think the interest came when I was still in university. I was young, like 18, or I think it's before 17. I think it happened that, I like mathematics and I get to know about AI at that time. And I was fascinated by solving an interesting problem. And AI at that time was more around robotics planning. I'm talking about 2004, 5 kind of thing, right? So I think that at that time, that's what interested me, the mathematical aspect of it. I wrote a paper while I was still in my, I think, first or the second year of university, that got published in an international conference around AI planning. And that gave me an opportunity. I mean, a professor in Germany read it, and he invited me to come to Germany in Bremen. There was a research lab called TZE. They asked me to come and work in robotics, soccer playing RoboCup. Then I came to Germany, worked on that, and from there on, I just kept on going. I got another opportunity to work in a lab in Belgium on NLP. Actually, there also worked on text classification. And so I'm talking about 2005, six, that kind of thing, which is pre this whole buzz around AI. So at that time, it was purely interesting from a point of view of a algorithmic point of view, mathematical point of view, which I always enjoyed. So yeah, that's the journey, how it started.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a quite a how to say a impressive resume, and both when it comes to being an author, and I also know that you've been quite involved working around startups previously. But I would say what I really resonate a lot around today, and I think we are a bit the same here, maybe little different angles, but we are, I believe, like, I'm very passionate about pushing innovation and get people, get people excited over actually building with AI. You created something that have grown to become very successful. Omdena, is that correct pronunciation? Yes. Uh, Can you how when did you when did you start on Dana?
So I'll give a quick background about that too. So I kind of, as you rightly said, that I did build some startups in 2017, I think, and I got tired of all the startup ecosystem and how this works, and driven a lot by the money and kind of, growth. Often I think that growth, which is kind of, I call it fake growth, because you're just pumping in money. So I just felt like this is not where I want to be, and I spent next 2 3 years just had the opportunity to travel around the world, speak in different conferences, and I wrote the book also during the time. And what I observed, basically two things. One is there was a lot of talk around AI, specifically AI for good, but not a lot of people actually are doing something tangible, building something in that space. And it's all about coming, talking, and moving on to the next talk. And the other side, I mean, during my journey and my travel in places like even Kazakhstan or Belarus or Serbia. I mean, I saw so many talented people out there because they have access to the knowledge that has become so much democratized. When I did my graduation in Cambridge, I can still say, okay, 10 years ago, there was still opportunity for people the knowledge was in certain hubs like Stanford, MIT, but now everyone has the knowledge, right? But the opportunities is still not there. So not everyone has the access to the equal opportunity. So I was driven by, can I build something that, first of all, solves social problems using AI and build products and solutions, working with impact organizations, and at the same also very much I believe that if we are serious about solving future problems, we need to collaborate. We need to come together as a community, as a group of people from different parts of the world. And that's basically the point of what Omdena started, that I didn't see this as a company, to be very honest, in the beginning. I mean, I thought, okay, let's try out what comes out. We'll see. It's kind of a new idea, because imagine you get a group of 60, 70 people come together for 8 weeks who never met each other, don't know each other, and hoping that they will solve a problem, and not only solve a problem, but build something tangible for a startup or organization was kind of, I would say, wacky idea in a way. So that's how it started. To my surprise, very honestly, and as you said, it has grown. I don't know success or not, but it has grown quite well. So just give you some numbers. We have done over 250 projects in 3 years across 55 to 60 countries with organizations from those countries, where we had people from over 5,000 people who have participated in these kind of projects from 105 or 103 to 5 countries. So which I will say that has grown, and we are every month adding 5 to 10 new local chapters. We have chapters all over the world. So it's very interesting that has grown. But what it showed me that I think it's not so much about me or the company, but it showed that there's so many talented people in the world who are super motivated, and when you give them those opportunities, they're very happy to kind of solve those problems. That's actually very interesting for me, because in the past, I think we often used to think that we expect governments and big corporations to solve the problems and build the solutions. But what I want to kind of show that, look, we as a community and people, we can also come together, collaborate, and build the solutions, solving our own problems. We don't have to necessarily rely on, let's say, the governments or the corporations to solve that for us. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been perhaps even to build over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I actually been very impressed with the journey from start, how you managed actually to create this collaborative projects and actually keep kind of the group together and work over such a long time. Like, have you learned any, say, is there any key knowledge to pick from this? Like, what would you say is like the key drivers that make people stay engaged and keep moving forward? And because I see your community is very engaged and also taking kind of ownership of moving Omdena forward.
I think the key lesson for me as a founder is, again, it's the same thing, that listen to what people say rather than put your own. Like, you can always have your vision, but try to listen to your, let's say, customers, users, whatever you say them, what they want to, and things like that. But I think if in terms of engagement, that a lot of people ask me that, how do you manage to create a community? And we spend no money. We, as you know, we haven't raised any VC money, and it is all organically built. And now we make money, we make profits, things. And what I've seen that people have two kinds of motivations. I always say, one is intrinsic motivation, one is extrinsic motivations. Intrinsic is we want to do good to the world. We want to, and a lot of people who are, let's say, even working in Microsoft, Google, or big companies, tech companies, they come to Omdena because they have this more intrinsic motivation. They want to do something meaningful. They're kind of bored in their work. So that's one is intrinsic motivation. That engages people. And the other is extrinsic motivation. Like, one of the things that I find it, and sometimes with open source communities, is that it's great intrinsic motivation for many people, but there is no extrinsic motivation. Like, I think that extrinsic motivation doesn't necessarily always have to have about earning money, which it also should be, that it gives you a path to develop your career, to get jobs, to earn money, because at the end, many people in the world need that. But we in Omdena, of course, now we also pay collaborators money, and then they also develop the career. We have they get jobs from Omdena, but also just to give them recognition is very important, to recognize that what they are doing, and that's also a kind of extrinsic motivation. Basically, to create any engaged community, you have to connect to the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation together, and that's basically what creates the community.
Yeah, it's really, really cool, and really excited what you have created there. And I have noticed recently also that you, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of taking the next step, and now actually went in and provided some funding members from the Omdena community.
We of course, I mean, now, like, we have built a path now for collaborators to come in and develop themselves, right? And to the point of start earning money from Omdena. So what we have seen that So like, for example, give you some numbers. We have over 30,000 people who have applied to join Omdena in various capacities. And some of them are selected, some of them are not, of course. And then they first can join a local chapter. We have these different local chapters. Then they develop to the core challenges. And then once they keep on doing and proving themselves up, they reach to a point where we call them engineering lead. And then they start earning money. So, I mean, they can start from projects that we do, then they start earning money. But also what we have seen, a lot of companies actually hire them because they value the experience that they have gained over through Omdena, because it's kind of practical experience that they're solving, working with people from all over the world. So it's not only test your technical skills, it's also test your soft skills, communication skills, and how do you manage teams globally at this in this way across culture. So I think these are the kind of skills that people have been able to build and develop through working that, and which I think is extremely valuable for us, but also for other people. That's now I think most of we have given over $350,000 to $400,000 across to our community collaborators, just pure financial money. But of course, in terms of other added value of giving them access to paid courses, which cost $500 per month, that value is extremely much bigger. But just in terms of cash money itself, that we have given to our collaborators, and we hope to continue to grow that.
Yeah. So if somebody are interested to get to know more or try to engage, what do you recommend then? Do they visit a web page and they have the information there, kind of how to move forward? Or
yeah, I mean, the website, they can go. There's a place to apply if you want to apply to join a core challenge, or you can join a local chapter. We also have something called Omdena School that is providing free education to. I always believe education should be free, so we have courses that anyone can apply and kind of join. We are also developing partnerships with universities across the world. So, for example, we just yesterday built a partnership with the University of in Saudi Arabia, Prince Sultan University, and we'll soon next week announce another partnership. So, what I believe that at the end, people can engage in various ways through Omdena, either through a school course, which is for free, a local chapter, or a core challenge. And then once they prove themselves, they can start being in the top talent, which we call top talent pool, and then they can start earning money. But all around solving impactful problems. So this is something I'm quite till now have been focused on, that we haven't worked with corporations. So for example, we didn't take any money from a big corporation. There have been cases where I will not name those companies, but they reached out to us and to work with us, and I kind of at the times refused. For whatever reasons, but I'm just saying that for now we still continue focusing on impact organizations, working with them, solving social problems.
Yeah, I can understand the situation there. We are experiencing much of the same, and I mean, for me personally, also the drive is to create impact and create innovation and have people actually go out and try to solve real world problems. And I think here, like I often see us kind of liking some similar stuff on LinkedIn, and especially a bit around the funding and startup ecosystem. So can I ask you, like, what do you think is wrong with the system today that are meant to support entrepreneurship and startups and innovation?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I wrote this article about like why we are building a community for startup, and I will. The issue with what I see, the way issue is with VCs is that first of all they are pumping money into startups. What like we need to fundamentally understand, when does a startup mostly raise money? A startup often raises money when they haven't mostly figured out the business model. Like so they just raise the money, hope that it will solve the problem for them. But that doesn't really solve the problem. So they haven't really learned how to make money or make profits, yet they keep on raising money. And that's the basically fundamental of raising money is, I haven't figured out how to make money or how to make profits, give us money. And then they keep on growing, and then they say, go to the next round. Again, I haven't figured out how to make profits, give me more money. So they keep on growing. So this growth is often fake growth, because you're not really making profits. I mean, most startups, or many startups that raise money, don't even are profit making. And that's why you could see so many startups are actually failing even if they raise so many millions of dollars, because they at certain point the investors say, okay, I just need to stop this whole thing because it doesn't make sense anymore. So that's fundamentally one problem, that focus on growth rather than actually building a sustainable model. That's the main difference, that they are just focused so much at growing. They don't care about building a sustainable model. And what is the wrong also with the growth, that when a company is focused at growth, what they basically at the end of the day trying to build is, I think that leads to more consumerism. That they're just trying to give more discounts. They're trying to make people use their solutions more and more, even if people which they don't need that. That's actually not good for the world, because it's kind of, there are all these kind of solutions how to make people get hooked, how to get people use your solution more. But the question is that really good for the world? Like, do we really need so many, tons of more easy way to, like get everything so easily? Like, the point what I'm trying to say here is that the growth may not be good for the world. There's limited supply, there's limited everything is, and is it truly sustainable that we are just want to grow? And other thing is, such kind of growth also leads to creating monopolies. Basically, that's what the VCs also want to do, that they raise a lot of money so that you basically kill all your competition. So you reach to a point like Amazon's and things that where there is almost no competition. That's also not good for the world. So my point is, why do we need to build one Uber in the world? Why can't there be like hundreds of Ubers in every single country that are small, doing sustainable business, growing decently well, making millions of dollars? Doesn't have to make valued billions of dollars, can be valued millions of dollars, and not creating this fake growth that is not good for the world, that is often not profitable, and down the line will basically needs to be closed, or you have to fire hundreds of so I think there are lots of these issues that are with the way the VC investment world works. But bottom line is that it's all driven by growth and not actually building a sustainable business.
One other angle of the coin I see, especially in Europe, I see many startups that they might have a great idea, they have a great vision, but VCs comes in and kind of also sometimes force them in, go create revenue now, go and get this one or two B2B customers, and so they basically can sell them to the next one in this pipeline. But I also see sometimes going into revenue sometimes can be dangerous, because you see these startups with these big aspirations to solve these big problems, and now they end up in a situation where they need to adapt to this single customer. But on the other side, what you are talking about, that's also a reality, and especially in US, it's very like different worlds. Yeah, I will not take too much of your time. If you have time, I have one more thing I would like to talk about quickly. And I would like to understand a bit, what do you think about AI today, and where do you see this going? Because you have such a long experience, like you have been in this area for such a long time, so you have really seen like the acceleration, so to say, and also the usability. It was 5 years ago, it was really, really hard to basically do anything AI or understand anything AI. But today it opens up all these new opportunities and progression. But I would like to know, like, where do you see AI going, and also were you expecting it to kind of accelerate like we see in the last, say, 3 years with especially around transformers and such technologies?
I mean, I always try to avoid predicting the future, so I will perhaps not predict where will AI go, but I can answer the question in a way that where I would like it to go. I don't know where it will go, but where I would like it to go, and where I am trying my best to play a role, some role in that direction, right? I think at the end of that is every technology has to solve problems for meaningful problems for people and make people's life better. That's the bottom line. Is as long as we are building those kind of technologies, then it makes sense. If it ends up just being this kind of hype and having almost no real world applications, making people's life easier, then it will remain a hype and perhaps fade away in some years. So what I want to kind of want AI to go is, first of all, solve problems for the people that really affects people's life, make people's life easier, makes the world a better place to live for everyone. All those problems that we're having already, and AI can really do those things. And I think there's a lot of work that is already being done. And that's why I'm very hopeful that it's not a hype phase. It's actually real products, real solutions. But on the other hand side, I also see a lot of buzz around AI, unfortunately. And as you perhaps know, there are over 85% of AI solutions fail in a way that they never make into the real world. That's actually a really high percentage. And there's also the ethical side of it. And there's and absolutely there's a question of transparency and all those questions that we have. So I think that that's something we all AI engineers should be very aware of. And one of the way that I think that if we want to solve ethical issues of AI, collaboration is very important. I don't want to go into too much details, but I do think when we take a diverse group of people building those solutions, that potentially makes it more ethical because you identify the biases in the data much more than, let's say, a group of single users kind of building those up. So I think where we need to go is building, first of all, solve meaningful social problems, build in a way that's kind of more ethical. And I think that ethical ways to, one way to build ethical solutions is through collaboration. Through you engaging different stakeholders, engaging diverse group of people, and not just people in Silicon Valley building the solutions for the rest of the world. And that's what I hope we go. And that would make AI successful, I believe. And another thing that I always say, and whenever I talk to any company, I always say that if you can afford to not use AI, don't use AI or machine learning. Just don't just put AI for the sake of putting something for this, just like, okay, let's just do something AI. And I know many startups do that because, it's the buzzword, the VCs will invest you, and there are some kind of checkpoints you do. Okay, I mean, that's, again, don't do that. I would say that avoid doing anyone, just solve problems if it really requires. I think that's basically what it comes to.
Yeah, it's such a big misunderstanding overall. AI is such a beaten up term and have been so misused over the years. But what we really see right now is with this more very modern systems like GPT-3 or Codex or DALI or Midjourney right now, it really enable people to build things because we see when we are running our events and on the LabLab platform, and especially when we're lifting in this type of technologies, it is by far diverse and mixed teams do so much better than if we take only the 5 AI people, we put them in, they will start looping around things and they will think compute. But when we see we have this diverse group of people, it's often maybe someone that are not also nested into AI that actually will have this great idea because they have a domain knowledge from this day-to-day things. Have you had a chance to try any of DALI, or now the latest one is really got really popular called Midjourney, right? Images.
I haven't. My unfortunately, the more the company grows, the less I become technical, and I have to spend more of my time to manage the team and grow the company, unfortunately. So I haven't had much, to be honest, a lot checking recently on more technical sites.
Okay. No, it's super easy to use. If you want to try it out, we actually integrate, I think, AI Playground or something that can create any type of image. It's kind of mind-blowing. All right. Before we wrap this up, I think Kuba have a question for you. No, he doesn't have a question. So then, Rudradeb, it's a pleasure having you here and talking with you. And we'll keep following your journey, and hopefully we will bump into each other IRL in somewhat of a near future. Are you still based in Warsaw?
Yeah, I am actually. I just came back after. I just came back like a few days ago, so I'm here now for now.
Okay, great.
Cool.
So, last thing, is there anything you want to say, share? The stage is yours.
Thanks a lot for having me. I haven't checked what you guys are doing, but I will be happy to have a look. Send me anything that you guys want to share with me. I'll check it out in the next couple of days.
Absolutely. All right. Then I want to wish you a great evening, a great upcoming weekend, and let's both contribute to change the world and make it a better place. Thank you.